Welcome to the Equity Guru Investor Roundtable. I am Rob Simpson, and I am joined today. The guy over there is Vishal Vatura. The guy down there is TK Indicena, and the guy over there is Chris Perry. Today, it's about Gold Mountain. I mean, that's my favorite name of any company ever, Gold Mountain. I mean, it sums it up. What a great name. If only it was just one big mountain of gold. Maybe that's what they're hoping for.
There's a Gold Lake that was a client of ours for a little bit, which always made me think of it.
Gold Lake?
El Dorado.
Swimming in gold? Gold Mountain. So the stock hit highs back in early May. Chris Perry himself wrote an article about how insiders were hoarding and it kind of cooled off after the stocks hit the high. That was back in early May. Pretty quiet since. They could have some stuff happening soon, but what's going on with Gold Mountain? What happened with Gold Mountain?
Well, what happened with Gold Mountain was we started talking about it when it was 90 cents, and it got itself up to about $3 in quick time, which is sort of territory reserved for success stories like Great Bear, that kind of thing. Inevitably, the old adage is sell in May and go away for a reason. Brokers all disappeared back to the cabins in Ontario for a few months and engage in their outside habits. And stocks generally tend to suffer. And Gold Mountain sort of found itself in a tsunami of overriding factors that were going to push it down. One was it had gone up so damn hard, so damn fast. In April, it went from $1.20 to $2.70 on the back of admittedly agreeable news, good drill results, and I think a good plan. But as summer hit and a cold period news-wise follows, as the group are waiting for their permits to be put through, people start cashing in. They've made good profits. Their money's gone up, 3 or 4 times. Yeah. And why would you hold that through the summer if there's not going to be any news? So the stock's gone down. It's had a pretty solid fall away to about half where it was. But to me, that's a good opportunity to think about getting back in as the summer ends and as that permit nears.
Michelle, the charts back it up?
Just as Chris was saying, I mean, we had that big bounce around that 130, 120 zone, and we're pretty much heading back there. I mean, we're at $1.50, so we still have some room if we want to pull back to test that support, but we did test that earlier late in July, and you can see we have an engulfing candle, so buyers did step in there. I think in terms of juniors, we do have to obviously look at the price of gold and GDXJ, which is the juniors ETF. So I'll show you guys that in just a second. But just sort of building upon what Chris said, a lot of these juniors, they get that bad rep, their speculations. You have to do your research on the management. In Gold Mountain's case, you have the management. These guys are cashed up, so they can use that cash for catalysts. And they also have a catalyst coming up where they're hoping to receive a permit from the Ministry of Mines. I say hoping just because this is BC, so I wanted to be that, devil's advocate there. I don't really recall the last time a mine has been permitted here in BC. Obviously, with the whole environmental stuff getting a bit more some would say crazier here. I know some people in the mining industry would rather hold mine projects in West Africa than BC just because of the way the environmental laws are here. But we'll see, because the big catalyst I think that a lot of people forget about is with that permit, they are looking to start commercial production in Q4 this year, 19,000 ounces. They also have a buyer for that ore. So by the end of this year, they could actually be, putting out a profit there if that permit comes and that production is ready to go. But yeah, technically, it really depends here now on what gold is going to do. And, had a big sell-off there. But I think more importantly, what I'm watching, and I'm talking about this actually on Market Moment over on Equity Guru, is the GDXJ, which is the junior miners chart. And we're also at a very big support level. So depending on how this plays out in the coming weeks, I think we'll either see a bid or we're going to be breaking down on a lot of these junior supports going forward.
DK, you're an investor. You're waiting on permits?
Yeah, I would wait on the permits, but also look at a few things that I think are important, even for junior miners, is how they orchestrate their financing, what they do with that money that they bring in, outside of management. Obviously, management influences all of this, and what the actual project will generate for the firm. So I'll go through each one, and I apologize for all the accounting, but it's fun to me. But in February and June, they did some financings. So they had a private placement. I think it was about $10 million. And then in June, they had a bought deal for 12 million around there as well. And over the last 3 years, on average, they've spent $820,000 on operating expenses. So that's keeping the lights on and stuff like that. And the bigger cost will usually be the capital expenditures, because they have to get aircraft, they have to get the permits, the debt financing, etc. Their total for the 3 years on average was $2 million on average a year for the capital expenditures. And then they had interest payments of about $1 million. And they had cash after the financing of $9 million in the bank. And they have property of approximately 11 million and debt of 4 million. So mostly what you're getting from the company, because it's cyclical and relies on the price of gold, is you're getting a company that has hard assets, hopefully productive assets. And that's where some of the projects come and go, and some actually have potential for return and some don't. And the one they're talking about a lot is the Elk Gold project here in BC, I think. I might be wrong there.
It is, yeah.
It's in BC. And I think they have the permit until September, or the lease expires in September, and the mineral claims expire in December. But they can extend that if they just pay $300,000 a year to extend their contract. So it's not too much of a big deal. Or $3,000 a year on keeping up the facility to keep the contract going. But the most important thing for most people here is looking at the net present value of each project. So usually it's this whole complicated mathematical equation that brings in financial analysts and geologists to try and make an assumption about what each project would generate for the company. So for example, the Elk Gold project, their base case, they feel it's going to bring in a total of $231 million after taxes. And the assumption is that gold prices will range between the 1,800 to 1,600 price point USD. And that's an average payback period for them for about a year. And although this might sound confusing, essentially the company is saying we need to put in a certain amount, and then out of that we get a certain amount by selling gold at this certain price. And that will take us usually a year to get that payback period from this one project. And I think prospect-wise, for a company that's not that debt heavy, that has a lot of cash, and has a lot of good assets, it's not paying too much in interest, I think it's a pretty good prospect to start looking more into it.
I was going to say, people love accounting when they're making money on their investments. So
that is true.
are we making money on this investment? And if we are, I mean, what's our risk level here moving forward? And what are we thinking it's August 2021 investing in this company as it kind of sits around and waits?
To me, this is the right time. Gold's taken a bit of a dip. I can't see gold going much lower, especially with political unrest around the world. Crypto seems to be taking a bit of a breather and not pulling all that money out of the market that it has been. No one's Wall Street betting, a chicken wing company or anything. It's a quiet time. So for me, that's when you accumulate at a low price. Look, the business model that Gold Mountain are looking at is, instead of doing what a lot of gold explorers do, which is 10 years of flying helicopters and taping off some land and running a magnet over it and kicking a rock and raising money and then raising more money and then raising more money, as they go towards like a massive 43-101, these guys instead are just like, look, we know that there's some stuff here. We know that there's some stuff we can get at really inexpensively. It might be a smaller amount than you'd usually do for the expenditure of a giant mine. But we believe that if we start eating into that gold, it will tell us where the rest of it is. And we'll be able to continue drawing in revenue in the short term rather than waiting for the long term. they want to go to production, and that's a rare thing. Integra Gold followed that model a couple of years back and got a nice big fat exit out of it. There's a lot of companies now are starting to look at that and saying, if we're a gold mining company, should we actually mine some gold or just, stop talking about it? Which I can get into, I can respect. The guys that are running the company, everything they said they were going to do over the last year, they've managed to pull off. And for me, this is free value at this point in the run. I do think they'll get their permits. If you look at their news flow, the last couple of releases were a little bit hiccupy. They put out an update which mentioned consultation with Indigenous communities. I've read through that update and I think it's respectful and appropriate, but something in that update offended someone at an Indigenous community and required them to send out another update apologizing for the insensitive language. I'll be honest with you, I cannot find the insensitive language. Someone's taken offense at something, but it's like, they said the company anticipated the final permit to be received in June. However, provincial regulators requested an extension of the permit review process, given the recent residential school discovery in Kamloops. Companies in full support of affording additional time and felt it was the only appropriate choice. That seems pretty respectful to me, but somewhere in that release, something was said that offended somebody and required them to put out an apology. And I think people see that apology and think, oh, they're having trouble with the First Nations. That's not what's happening. It's a very sensitive thing at any point to put out anything that involves discussing First Nations. For good reason, it's very easy to offend, but that doesn't mean the process is stuck or over or in any sort of trouble. It means the company has done what's been asked and said, all right, whatever you want, we're good. And I think that gives the company the impression for people who are casual observers and they look at the last bits of news flow as, oh, there's a problem here. And I think that's an opportunity for people buying to take that misconception and profit from it. As much as you don't want to profit from residential schools, this is an opportunity, I think, where the company is being pulled down a little bit, unfortunately, and will bounce back really hard when they have their next news piece, which I'm assuming is going to be a nice, big positive thing.
Yeah.
Vishal, last quick word on if and when you're buying.
I'd like that permit to come out, and just as Chris said, commercial production is there, plus the news flow for discovery to expand the asset, right? The resources. So technically, you would want to see a break above $1.80 here. There is some resistance here at $2, but if you are really bullish on the story and you believe that permit's coming out, I agree with Chris. Yeah, you would be probably loading up here.
All right. There you have it. It's Gold Mountain. And there are some investment ideas for you. You are personally responsible for your own investments, though. So do your own research and move ahead, and best of luck. These are really smart guys, though, so you should pay attention. I'm Rob, and Vishal is over there, and Chris is over there, and TK is down there, and we'll see you next time on the Equity Guru Investor Roundtable.